Lindy's, they're the only ones who have a regional magazine anymore. Athlon didn't do the regional magazine anymore, so 2 years in a row now. So a pretty good. It's not a read and reaction magazine spread, but they got to go like 4 or 5 pages on Florida here. Top 5 NFL draft picks. Will, this is the one I was trying to quiz you with. I had you thinking about it. We teased it a couple of weeks ago. Of course, you got to think about who Florida has coming back and all that. But give me your top 5 NFL draft prospects for Florida. And I remember one's a surprise.
I think there's a few pretty obvious ones.
Okay.
I think Sapp and Banks on the defense are guys that are obviously going to. There's your
one. There's your 1 and 2.
Yep. I think Slaughter is probably pretty high up.
Number 4.
I'm going to say Wilson, Trey Wilson.
Look at you, Will. You got it.
Right. And then
he's the third. He's number 3, by the way.
All right. And then is it who I want it to be, or is it who I think it'll be? I think they're probably going to pick again off the offensive line. So I'd say probably Austin Barber.
You nailed him.
Would be
all
the
5 of them. You got all 5 of them.
Now the guy I'm hoping for is Devin Moore.
Aha!
Moore has been outstanding when he's been on the field.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that could, like, health is going to be a big story for Florida. It's one of the reasons why I'm optimistic, because Florida's got a lot of road games early, and road games are usually where you get knocked off, especially late in the season when you get a bunch of injuries. So Florida, I think, is going to have to stay healthy in order to be successful this year. And luckily, because of the way the road and home splits sit this year, they'll have to go on the road early, which means you got to get everything, after those first 2 cupcakes, got to get everything set together. But a guy like Moore, man, if he can get an entire year in, I think he's got an opportunity. And I was saying this in last year's preseason magazine I thought he was going to be gone to the NFL after last year, because what he'd put on film and what he'd put, you look at PFF stats, you look at stats with SIS and all those sorts of things, and Moore rated out as one of the best corners in the country in his limited amount of time. Got to get him out there again. Got to get him healthy. Got to keep him healthy all year. And obviously staying healthy is a skill. But he's the guy I would look at and say is a dark horse for somebody who might end up being a first day pick, where you're talking about first two days now, right? First, second, or third round, somewhere in there. I could see Devin Moore certainly having a successful year and finding his way up into the top tier of the NFL draft.
Surprised by Trey Wilson being 3rd overall?
Not surprised they have him there.
Okay.
Not the guy I would have listed. I think Wilson.
You probably guessed it because I said surprise.
No, I think Wilson is one of those guys who has a very distinct skill set, but also has struggled to stay healthy. I mean, you think about even in the year, even in his true freshman season where he played really well, I think he only played 9 or 10 games. So health has been an issue, and he's relatively small. So that's one of those where you look at it and go, okay, if he puts up a year like Kadarius Toney did in 2020, then obviously he's a guy who gets drafted. And you don't have some of the concerns about the social media presence that Toney certainly presented and has borne out in the league thus far. But I don't know. When I look at Florida's wide receiver rankings, I think for them to outperform the rankings we've gone over means that a guy like Vernell Brown or a guy like Dallas Wilson has to play better than Trey Wilson. And I think that's possible, but I think that also suggests sort of, we're talking a late round draft pick. I wouldn't think, I'd be surprised if Wilson wound up like a first rounder or a second rounder.
NFL Draft Buzz, their draft projection, 2nd round to late. So they have it as high as a 2nd rounder. Right. Overall rank number 55, position rank 12th.
Then how's our wide receiver room so crapped on all these preseason magazines?
Hey, I mean, they had, you had the individual ranking. They were top half of the SEC.
I'll tell you though, Dave, if Florida has 2 offensive linemen and a wide receiver, and I'm guessing that Slaughter and Barber probably top 4 rounds, where do they have those guys?
Austin Barber, ESPN had a mock draft, I think, last week.
I saw him as a first rounder.
First rounder. And by the way, shout out to his dad. I saw his dad at the car wash the other day. He noticed who I was. We sat there and talked for like 10 minutes. It was a good little time. So I was sitting there, and he's like, "I know you." I was like, "Yeah, I have a Gator." He goes, "I'm Austin Barber's dad." So it was cool.
Hey, always fun to run into the family when you're at the car wash. Man.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I mean, think about this, right? If Florida has a first-round left tackle, an All-American center, and a wide receiver who's getting drafted in the second round, what does that mean that DJ Lagway has done?
Right.
It either means that like they've had 7 injuries at right tackle, and it became a disaster on that side, or Lagway is competing for the Heisman Trophy. Like if you have a first round draft pick as a left tackle with a 5-star quarterback behind him, oh boy, like that really projects to things that could be really, really special for the team. So, like I said to start this off, this is the most optimistic I've been about a Florida program in a really long time, and part of it is because of the depth that's been built, but part of it is you don't have to project these guys to like take these giant leaps in order for the team to be really, really good. I think, like I said, I think Florida, by the time you got to the Ole Miss game, I think Florida was a top 15 team in the country. Given the way Banks and Sapp were playing, given the way Pyburn was playing, obviously he's gone. Given the way the defensive backs with Bridges switching out to corner and the 2 safeties, Castell and Thornton, were playing, and given the way that Lagway was playing, I think Florida was a top 15 team in the country by the time he got to that point. I think they took a couple of steps back against Florida State and Tulane, but let's be honest, those were 2 like really overmatched teams. Like that was one of those where like, you like every once in a while when I coach my son's baseball team, you go out there and you see the kids on the other side and go, oh boy, we're about to get mauled. And it doesn't matter who you pitch. You're dead. And I think Tulane and FSU were sort of in that state. So did they have the full attention of the Gators? I'm not necessarily sure, but man, yeah. If it goes that way, if Florida has those 5 guys drafted, we are having some awesome Gators breakdowns in December. I might be meeting you down in Atlanta. And I might be meeting you in Gainesville in December for a home playoff game because they're going to be there if 5 guys get drafted. If those 5 guys go in the draft, Florida's in the playoff.
Wrapping up here, going about an hour here. Best and brightest, and this goes Lindy's here, and then we'll kind of wrap up our preseason magazine coverage that we do every year. Enjoy doing this, gives us some good talking points. Most valuable player, Jake Slaughter. There. So Slaughter anchors an experienced offensive line and has emerged as a leader for Florida's offense, both on and off the field. Earned AP First Team All-American honors and per Pro Football Focus, posted a team best 81.1 offensive grade, 5th nationally among centers, and an even better grade for pass blocking, 83.9. Gators finished 43rd in sacks allowed last season. Improving that number helps ensure Lagway stays upright. Emerging star, obviously, DJ Lagway. Displaying a strong arm, the 19-year-old freshman helped salvage last season by going 6-1 as a starter while passing for 1,915 yards with 12 TDs, 9 interceptions. He isn't hesitant to throw the ball downfield, averaging a robust 16.7 yards per completion, and his, here you go, Will, 154.9 passer rating was the best among all true freshmen in FBS last season. Capped the season with the first 300-yard passing performance in Gasparilla Bowl history, winning MVP honors. Top newcomer. After the spring game, I think this was pretty obvious. Wide receiver Dallas Wilson. 5-star recruit from Tampa, Wilson had 10 catches for 195 yards, 2 touchdowns in Florida's Orange and Blue game, setting a spring game record for catches 10, tying the record for receiving yards 195. At 6'3" and 209, Wilson has an SEC-ready body with speed and receiving instincts to match. Quote, he's what a 5-star looks like, says Coach Billy Napier.